Okay, so in this video, we're going to look at a few different things. So there's a previous video that talked about the lobes of the brain, the cortices, and all the different parts of what they control. This video, we're going to focus on two things primarily, okay? The first thing we're going to focus on is the diencephalon, and then we're going to focus on the brainstem. Okay. Now, I'm going to keep this consistent with the notes that I've given you to make sure that we're all on the same page. So as we look at this, I'm going to label a few things out, okay, but I'm also going to add a few labels to it. So when we look at this picture, I'm going to start with labeling the parts of the diencephalon. Okay, so the diencephalon is going to include a few things, three things specifically. Okay. It's going to be the hypothalamus. It's going to be the thalamus. And then it's kind of difficult to label, but we'll just label it as back here. And the epithalamus. Okay, so you've got those three things that make up the diencephalon. Now, I'm going to do it as thalamus, hypothalamus, and epithalamus down here at the bottom. Now, each of these has things they're responsible for doing. So the thalamus, okay, is going to relay sensory and motor information between the body and the cerebral cortex. Now, keep in mind the cerebrum that we talked about before is all the lobes of the brain, okay? So you've got to have a connection between your body and then the lobes of the brain that we've talked about in all their functions, okay? Another part of this that's important is going to be talking about what we're going to call the state of arousal, okay? The state of arousal. So the thalamus is going to be what's controlling your sleep, your wakefulness, and then your just overall consciousness of whether you're like coming out of sleep, getting tired, like that kind of just general awareness of your position. Okay, all of that is coming from the thalamus. Okay, and you'll see that it aligns somewhat with some of the other two parts of the diencephalon. Okay, there's some overlapping functionalities here. So the hypothalamus is going to be a part of the autonomic nervous system, which remember is the part of the nervous system that controls what happens automatically. Okay, as a part of its function, it's going to control or regulate metabolism, okay, heart rate, blood pressure, thirst, hunger, I'm just going to abbreviate, energy level, sex, and pain. So it has a lot going on. So it has a lot of functions, okay, but keep in mind that it is part of the autonomic nervous system, so it's working kind of in the background, so to speak, and that it's doing a lot of the processes that we're not thinking about that just happen automatically, okay? The epithalamus, which is going to include the pineal gland, okay, is going to regulate what we're going to call the sleep cycle hormones. Okay, so the sleep cycle hormones is going to be things like melatonin, okay, different hormones that are going to lead you into your sleep cycles. Okay, it's part of what we're going to call the circadian rhythm. Okay, you're essentially a part of every day is going to be you going to sleep and you waking up, and that's regulated by these hormones to make sure your body's needs are met. Okay, so these are your three parts of the diencephalon. Now we're going to move from there into the brain stem. Okay, so the brain stem we're going to kind of pull out from up here. So you've got the midbrain, you've got the pons here, and then on the inferior side, you've got the medulla. Okay, so the medulla oblongata. Now, I'm going to do something similar to this. So I'm going to do midbrain is M. I'm going to do pons. And then I'm going to do MO over here is medulla oblongata. So just to have a concise list, the midbrain is going to be similar to the thalamus in terms of its functionality, okay, in regards to this specifically. So it's going to be responsible for relaying sensory and motor information, okay? So it's taking that sensory and motor information from the body and relaying it to the brain to be able to complete the task. Okay, you've got another portion of this where you're dealing with what we're going to call motor activity, so that's movement, so muscle movement. You've got sleep, temperature regulation, okay, arousal, okay, so it's coming from that sleep to awake state and working with those sleep cycles. The pons primary function is going to be regulating breathing. Okay, so you're going to see the specifically passive breathing, where you're just sitting there breathing in and out without thinking of it, okay, is going to be regulated by some receptors and different things within the pons to help that breathing just kind of seamlessly go from inhalation to exhalation, back to inhalation. So it's making sure that that's kind of a seamless move. The medulla is going to be regulating heart rate, blood pressure. I'm going to do this breathing. I'm going to call respirations, so I'm going to use the letter R. You got coughing, sneezing, okay, different things like that. Okay, so you've got a few different things coming from this medulla, some reflexes. You've got some regulation of the vital signs like heart rate, blood pressure, and respirations. Okay, so you can see that like a lot of this is taking these processes that are happening throughout the body, regulating them using this kind of connection between the brain and the spinal cord to move this information back and forth to be able to complete these tasks that oftentimes we don't think about, that just kind of happen in the background of our lives. Okay, they're all regulated by both the diencephalon and the parts of the brain stem.